So I mentioned that I hold an annual budget summit with myself every year, and you guys overwhelmingly were like, please make a video on this. So I do have one that I've done before many years ago back in MENA, and I will link that down below, but let's do it again because some of my practices have changed since then. And also I think this is a really important thing to do, and it's kind of the next step in budgeting. And if you have a household, if you want to run your money, it's important to reevaluate your systems every year, whether that's by yourself or with your partner and your family, not necessarily your kids, but you know what I mean. And we all generally, most of us spend at least 40 hours a week earning money. That's 2,080 a year. I did the math. I think it's probably worth a couple hours at the beginning of every year to make sure that your money is going to do what you want it to. So yes, you're probably already spending maybe a couple hours a month budgeting. I know I do, or probably not a couple hours actually. It's a pretty simple system that I have set up, but I think it's well worth the time spent to really make sure that I have a handle over where my money is going and that I'm going to meet my goals. And that's what an annual budget summit is for. So let's summit. So if you don't know me, I am Sarah, also known as Budget Girl here on the internet, and I'm a big giant budget nerd. And I'm not ashamed. In fact, I should have been wearing my maybe spreadsheets will help merch t-shirt available below. I personally use spreadsheets to budget because they work for my brain. Now, as we go into this, you can have an annual budget summit no matter what type of budget you have. And personally, I don't care what type of budget you have. I want you to pick the type of budget that works for you and your brain. If that is pen and paper, if that is an app, if that is a spreadsheet, I don't know what else it could be. I'm sure there are some, but as long as it works for you and you can consistently log in your income and your expenses and log where all your money is coming from and where it's going, awesome. Yay for you. And you might have to customize what we're doing here just a little bit for that, but I think the main points are gonna be good for whatever. Also, the spreadsheets that I'm using today, a monthly budget spreadsheet and my net worth tracker, are both available in my Etsy shop. They're under $10. They can probably help you, same as they helped me, and they've helped thousands of people at this point master their money. So check that out and let's get into it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. So I modify and tweak my budget almost monthly. I don't make big changes every single month because that's just not necessary at this point. If you're very new to budgeting, your budget's probably gonna change a lot the first few months because you'll be adjusting it to reflect what you actually do with your money. For instance, a lot of times when people start budgeting, they might be like, I'm gonna spend $200 on groceries for my family. And then they spend $500 and they're like, our budget failed, we can't budget. No, you were unrealistic about how much your family actually needs to spend on groceries. So you might need to adjust that in other ways. And you certainly can't go from like 500 to 200 in the span of a month. It's just asking for failure. So, however, I've been doing this for 7+ years at this point. So my budget's pretty locked. Anything that is not like a regular monthly expense, I usually sinking fund for, or I use savings for that are dedicated for this. So I have sinking funds for car repair replacement, for annual bills, for things like Christmas, for annual stuff like Rory's annual rabies shot and little tags and everything like that. You'll see when I get into it. I have a whole article and some videos on sinking funds down below. They will save your financial bacon. Love them. My budget doesn't change that much month to month. However, year to year, you can usually see some changes. And I made some decent ones this year, and I hope you guys like them because I did make them to help me. It is my budget, sorry. But the very, very first thing I do is I clone my budget to make a new year. So if you look on the screen right now, you can see that at the bottom of this spreadsheet, there's a new sheet for every single month. And each of these has all of my expenses and everything. And it's kind of cool because I could actually show you like what I spent on restaurants and eating out, or what I spent on gas from 6 years ago. I can just go find the sheet. It's super easy. I love it. It's great for taxes. My tax guy, I'm not going to say he loves me, but he knows I can find him any number he needs. Sometimes my brain doesn't organize things the same way his brain does. He's had to teach me. Still learning. So this is December 2020's budget. So what I did was I can hit this button right here and I can duplicate the sheet and it creates a whole new one. And this is normally how I make a new month, but for a new year, I actually make a whole new document in Drive. So here is my 2021 budget. I went ahead and cloned it, and I also cloned my net worth tracker, which is a really, really cool tool that I absolutely love and highly recommend, because it gives you, instead of just a monthly picture of your finances, it gives you a much better overall kind of bird's eye view picture of your entire financial life, because your money is doing more than just in your month. Hope that makes sense. So I cloned it, and then I made a couple of little changes. I don't know if you'll be able to tell here, this box at the top, and a lot of these are just like aesthetic changes. I like to kind of mix up my budget just a little bit, and it also, as I'm kind of changing the way it looks, I might change the color, I might change like the structure a little bit. It makes it look just a little bit different for a new year, and it also gives me a chance to address any issues I might have with working within the budget. So I personally have multiple streams of income, and I'm tracking multiple things on this sheet. And sometimes when you add those in as they happen, it's not necessarily the best way to do things. So for instance, and this is gonna look odd to some of you guys, but I bought a house this year and I became a landlord. So I had to suddenly put in new little columns and places to put in how much I was paying towards my mortgage, how much my boyfriend was paying towards my mortgage, and how much my renters are paying towards my mortgage. It's fine the way it was, but I felt like it was kind of presenting just a slightly skewed view of my finances, and I changed it. So for instance, right here, so previous to now, my main budget has always just gone off of my Texas A&M income. I've never counted Budget Girl because I could never really count on how much Budget Girl would make each month. And I kind of started treating the rental property that way as well. So in this main blue box, I only have my core expenses, and it's supposed to total up essentially to, as a zero-based budget, to how much I make at A&M. My total expenses, including my actual bills, my savings, and my investments, total to $3,107, and my A&M income is $3,109. That makes sure that I'm not kind of overreaching myself. And within that, I actually only pay $150 a month towards my mortgage. So that's how much I put in my mortgage box. I have other people paying the rest of it, and I'll link that video down below, and it's very cool, and I'm very lucky, and it's very exciting, but it shows kind of what comes out of my pocket, making my expenses $1,800 a month. Now that is still true. That has not changed. However, in my 2021 budget, I decided to do things just a little bit differently, and now I have it to where my entire mortgage is in my expenses, and I'm instead kind of pulling out of my income box how much I'm getting from the property, how much I'm getting from Budget Girl, and we're just gonna have to work in it so you can see how it works, but I think it'll be better for me long term. I also kind of changed some boxes around. As you can see, that note box isn't up here anymore. I moved it over here, and I kind of made things a little bit more square and stuck together, and that's just an aesthetic choice. Yes, I am technically paying the $1,700 a month, but most of that money is coming from my renter and my boyfriend, who's also my renter. So it equals out to the same amounts, but is gonna make it look like I have inflated housing costs when in reality I'm still paying $150. That might not make sense to you. I'm sorry. It does for me, and I think this is gonna work out for me better long term. Down at the bottom here, I also, the middle part's pretty much staying the same. Down at the bottom here, I had these 3 columns for income and expenses for the various small businesses I have. Once again, BG Penny Planters is not even really up and running yet, but the property stuff and the Budget Girl stuff is something I work in every single month. And I also wanted to be able to have a better log of this, and I want my property expenses to come out of this box instead of out of my personal expenses. I will still be paying them out of pocket, but in order for them to calculate under the correct thing and not make it look like I have too many personal expenses, I'm rearranging this just a little bit. And this is, if you are brand new, I'm sorry, this is probably very confusing. Your budget can be a lot more simple than this, and probably should be. This is someone who's gone a little crazy 7 years in, who's customized it to the point where no one else could use this at this point. That this exact budget would drive anyone else insane. My template, however, is customizable to your personal needs, but if somebody else tried to work in my budget, they'd just scream probably. So instead of having those 3 big columns, I actually decided, obviously I don't need that much space for the penny planters. Property I also don't need that much space. And I wanted to do income and expenses for Budget Girl kind of alongside each other, and also have the ability to increase this without making my spreadsheet crazy long, because I do access this on my phone. So yeah, that's just how that's gonna look now. I like it, I messed with it a lot. And also I kind of made a subcategory here for business income and expenses. And that just kind of helps me personally divide it between my personal expenses. And then finally, so this bottom here for actions, and I think this is really important in any budget. That way, in case there's extra money, you kind of know what to do with it. So I was taking anything left over from my personal budget and hand typing it in, anything left over from Budget Girl, hand typing that in, then calculating it in, calculating it out. I decided I wanted to automate that. And so this, you can see, equals D9, automatically tells me how much of my personal income is left. That total income comes down here from the top, so I can see that from right here. And then it automatically pulls these expenses out and auto-populates how much I have left. I'll still have to go in and decide where to put any money that's left over, but this is just one more little automation thing that I like. And it brings in main expenses, BG expenses, and property expenses to calculate my total take home. And I just did that by having it pull in the totals for each of those boxes, and then just did income minus each of the expenses in the formula line. And let's get into what happens next after you make any aesthetic changes you might like. If it feels like every single month you need to add some columns in for personal expenses, maybe it'd be a good time for you to extend out those boxes. And this is all, of course, spreadsheet stuff. But I know a lot of you use my spreadsheet, so there you go. The next step is going to be to review all of your regular expenses. Now, the beginning of the year, or whenever you decide to do your money summit, is a absolutely perfect time to look at your actual expenses and decide if those items are still worth the money that you're paying for them every month. For instance, my Kindle Unlimited subscription I use every single day. It's absolutely worth the $10.81. However, a couple of months ago, I decided to cut out my gym membership because I'm not going, and I'm scared of the gyms right now. You don't even have to wear a mask there. So yeah, I haven't been to the gym all year. They had paused the membership for a while, and when it came back, it was of course right in time for the annual fee, and I got hit with that. And then the next month I was like, no, you dare charge me an annual fee when you've been closed all year? No, we're canceling this. Maybe I'll start it up again when the world goes back to normal, but in the meantime, I'm not going to the gym. I shouldn't be paying for the gym. So you feel like you're spending too much at restaurants. Maybe you could look back at the 12 months previous, and I highly recommend you do this, and see how much you actually spent on restaurants each month. If you're going over what you budgeted every single month, it might be time to adjust it up and just be more realistic so that you don't have to scramble every single month to find out where that gap money is going to come from. Now is also a very good time to review your sinking funds if you have them, and I highly suggest that you do, and consider any expenses that might be coming up this year. Maybe you have a planned trip somewhere when the world goes back to normal, so that you can make sure that you're prepared for that expense. If you're planning on getting a new car sometime this year, don't forget to budget maybe some sinking fund money for registration, tags, title, all of that stuff. The more you can plan out to save for, the easier it's going to be. And of course, if you don't have a sinking fund for Christmas, put one in your budget right now. I don't care if it's $10 a month, that will be $120 more that you have for this next Christmas than you did before. I also have sinking funds for my future real estate property, just general long-term, car repair, replace, travel, Christmas, a medical sinking fund, and one for my dog. Next, during my money summit, I consider what goals I have for the new year, specifically money goals, because it's all well and good to say, I want to save $10,000. But if you don't actually have a line item in your budget for that 800 something dollars, you're probably not going to remember to save it each month. A really good example of this is I want to max out my Roth IRA this year. Now the maximum contribution is $6,000, which means I have to put in my budget $500 a month to my Roth IRA. And then see that little star right there? That means I automated it, which means I went on to Vanguard's website and I set an automatic deduction so that that goal is really crazy easy for me to meet. And honestly, I think most of budgeting should be making your life so much easier with money and making your money serve you as well as possible. Now is also a really good time to consider setting goals. So this year, I decided that I wanted to make a certain amount, or I set a certain goal income amount for Budget Girl. So that divided by 12 is $3,333.33 a month. So I actually put that into my income and I'm hoping to get that. And this will make me remember every single month as I'm actually putting in how much I've earned, how much I am over or under on that, and how close I am to my goals. Previously, I think I had $500 in there and I was just like, yay, we made more than $500. This is lofty, but as you can see, this also kind of isn't a zero-based budget anymore, but it's in the spirit of one because I might not get $8,000 a month. If I don't, my expenses are lower than this. My expenses, as you can see, are $4,827 a month. That includes my the entirety of my mortgage, which is mostly paid for by my boyfriend and my renter. I actually only contribute $150 right now, so it's slightly off right here, but I had to change it for various purposes. I think it's gonna work, and it's my budget. So if you have income goals or saving goals, it's really good to put them into your budget so that you're actually checking on that every single month and you're seeing whether you hit it or not. The easiest way to screw up your New Year's resolutions or screw up your annual goals is to forget about them. Final thing that I did during my personal money summit was to kind of reset my net worth tracker. And this is also a really good thing to check if you have one. And if you don't, I highly recommend you get one this year because this made it really, really easy for me to, let's go to last year's, go through and see how much I kind of spent on things, how much I had, and where my money moved throughout the year. And once again, this informed how I decided to change my sinking funds and everything like that. So for instance, Christmas, I started out with $853 and I maxed out at $1,758. I actually figured out and then after Christmas, I still have $742 in that fund. That's too much money. I obviously don't need that much for Christmas. So what I ended up doing was bumping down my Christmas savings from $100 a month to $75, and I moved that money to travel savings, and I bumped that up, that $25, because once all of this ends, I want to go somewhere. And right now there is $1,550 in travel, up from, I guess I used it sometime this year. But you can actually, this is very nice because you can see where it goes. You can also see my duplex emergency fund going from $0 in April to $10,000 at the end of December, which is awesome. And my personal emergency fund going from $10,000 to $5,000 and then up to $10,000 again. If there are any trends in your budget that you can see where you always end up overspending in X on Y, maybe you've got 3 birthdays in your family that come up every March, then it might be a really good time to start a sinking fund for that or to adjust your budget accordingly. And if you do it ahead of time, then you won't be caught off guard. So personally, this took me a couple of hours and I just did it on, I think, either a Saturday or a Sunday, and I kind of did it in tandem with planning my New Year's resolutions and my overall personal business and money goals for the year. I think it was absolutely worth my time. I always enjoy kind of looking at a fresh new budget for a new year, and I think it helps me meet my goals a lot more overall. It helps me be more intentional, and I really, really hope that you do it too. If you do, I would love for you to comment down below and tell me what your annual money summit involves. I used to drink a lot more wine while I was doing it. When I was in debt, it was more of a shuffle of what can I downgrade a little bit? Could I, spend even $20 less on food every month and meet my debt payoff goal just a little faster? Could I do this, that, and the other? Now it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun to decide where my money's going for savings, for investing, and everything like that. But I don't even think I had any coffee during it. I was just kind of enjoying it. I definitely think it's worth your time to do something like this. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you liked it. And also, if you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe. My videos are not normally me gushing over spreadsheets, so those do happen sometimes. They've made me a lot wealthier than I used to be. So I mean, if you have any questions about my budgets, my annual budget planning, or anything else, please go ahead and ask those in the comment section down below. I love talking about this kind of stuff. And also, if you don't have anything else to say, go ahead and tell me what you want to see in my next video. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.